Good morning class, today I will bring the PAD120 tutorial for the chapter 6 expressions of power. Okay, when you say expression of power, that means the introduction of expression of power, reasons or merits of the expression of power, disadvantage or demerit for the expressions of power. Okay, expression of power introduced by Montesquieu, okay, a French political scientist, in his book The Spirit of the Laws. There can be no liberty where the legislative and executive power are united in the same person or body of magistrate, or if the power of judging be separated from the legislative and executive power. And despotism is avoided by way of separating, dividing the functions of the executive, legislative, and judicial arms of the government. Okay, now I would like to explain regarding these things. Okay, the principle of expression of power. Okay, if you look at the expression of power has its significance in a constitution, especially when it involves the discussions of concept of constitutionalism. Clear? That means the expression of power has a significance on constitutionalism. Constitutionalism is concerned with imposing limitations or restraints on government and all its organs. That means that legislative body, executive body, and judiciary by means of constitutions. That means that there's a remit of the power. Okay, by means of constitutions, in contrast against the parliamentary supremacy, that gives the parliament unlimited capacity to make or unmake law and restrain the judiciary from questioning the validity of an act of parliament as upheld by our constitutions. Okay. In this regard, the doctrine of separation of power organized political authority to avoid any oppressive or arbitrary misuse of power. In modern times, this doctrine has always been associated to Montesquieu. It is actually recognized in Malaysia. Okay, so in Malaysia, okay, when you say about Malaysia, okay, the differences in our system of government and constitutions are known to uphold the concept of constitutionalism, together with the doctrine of separation of power. Looking at the importance of the doctrine to be observed with the sphere of the limited government, as adopted our governments, okay, we know it is a check and balance. Why? Okay, having said that, the doctrine is to avoid concentration of power on the hand of a particular person or body. It's required that each organs of governments, legislative, executive, and judiciary has the capacity to check the exercise of power by the others, either by participating in the functions conferred on them or by subsequently reviewing the exercise of that power. For instance, in Malaysia, the legislative power is given to parliaments, but the Yang Pertuan Agong, who is vested with the authority of checking the power, may refuse to give his royal assent to a bill of parliaments. Okay, the federal constitution also express allow any law passed by the parliament to be invalidated by the judiciary if such law contravene or otherwise the power given by the constitutions. This constitution's procedure or process under which each organs of the government check or balance the exercise of power by others is known as the system of check and balance. That means that separation of power in Malaysia was implemented as a check and balance. Okay, so some have divided the doctrine into two, the horizontal and vertical. The vertical division of power is practiced between the federal and the state level of government, while separation of power in horizontal sense divide the power among the legislative, executive, and judicial branch of the same level of government. Okay, that means that some regarded that the vertical division of power is what mean by federalism. That means that vertical is a federal and the state, horizontal is a executive, legislative, judiciary. This we call it check and balance. Okay. So the foundations of entire constitutional structure of Malaysia reside in the separation of power set out in Article 39, 44 and 121 of the Federal Constitution of Malaysia. This article deals with executive, legislative and judicial power respectively. Although the existing provisions on judicial power has been amended to make it less certain, one can safely say that the Constitution still subscribes the idea of separation of power (SOP). Let us see. Article 39, which deals the executive rights. The executive authority of the federations shall be vested in the YDPA and exercisable, subject to the provision of any federal law and the second schedule. We have a 13th schedule. By him or by the cabinet or any minister authorized by the cabinet, but parliament may by law confer executive function on other person. That means that parliamentary can appoint other person to taken the duty of that minister. The minister was appointed by the YDPA on the advice of the YDPA. Is it? Yes. But in other way, parliamentary may by law confer executive function on other persons. This is Article 39. Okay. Article 44 on the hand vested that legislative authority in the parliaments as it provides. The legislative authority of the federation shall be vested in parliament, which shall consist of the YDPA and two houses, House of Parliaments and House of Senates, House of Representative and House of Senate. Article 121, whose marginal note reads, the judicial power of the federation now reads inter power. There shall be two high courts of coordinate jurisdiction as statutorily named as the High Court of Borneo and the High Court of Malaya. Okay. Unlike Article 39 and 44, which means that executive and legislative power, Article 21 following the 1988 amendment no longer contains the term judicial power, which was previously mentioned by the original version of the provisions. That means that the judicial power doesn't have now. The judicial power now is only for enforce the law. They cannot question the parliaments when the parliaments make the law, because you must know that executive body propose the policy, propose to make the law into the parliaments. The House of Senate just give the opinions. The House of Representatives making the decisions. So anything related to the laws, they just get opinion from the judiciary. Okay, that means that when you say that in this one, this is the check and balance. This is the check and balance. Legislative, rule making department. They are making the law. Executive apply the rule or apply the law. Judiciary, adjudications of rule or enforce the law. That means that you must understand, in Malaysia we have the check and balance. Each of system have a check and balance. But that's all. Another one thing is overlapping power. Overlapping power. Why overlapping power? Because they must work together. They work together. Like I've said that executive propose the law, propose the policy into the parliament, because executive body is one of the members of the parliaments in the House of Representatives, and parliaments making the law, but they just take the opinion from the judicials. Okay, why there's overlapping the power? Okay, you must understand when there's a overlapping the power. You must understand the personals and members. Okay, in some situation, the parliament will delegate their power to the member of executive. The parliament is only body can make the law. When the power of making the law is delegated to member of executive, this is a breach of separation of power. Although the main purpose of delegated regulation is because the lack of the time of parliament to enact every single bill, and the bill which need to become an act need undergo a long and strict procedure which take a lot of time. This is thing that why overlapping the power. The delegated legislatures will be checked by the parliament, but in particular it's not enough to make sure that there is not any abuse of power that sometimes will infringe the rights and liberties of the people. Furthermore, the legislature is viewed as performing the function of the executive through parliamentary procedure such as debate, question time, and select committees. That means that the judiciary cannot involve. Okay, how about YDPA? Okay, YDPA just give the royal assent. YDPA. Okay, YDPA. Royal assent. YDPA cannot involve in the debate, okay, or questions or select committee. YDPA is the head of the states. So YDPA is the neutralized. Okay. There are no overlap in personnel, but there are some overlap in function between both judiciary and legislative. The legislative seems like play the role of the judiciary whenever there are some circumstances of breach of the parliamentary privilege or contempt of the parliamentary. The legislative can enforce it by regulating its own compositions and procedure. Judge cannot make the law, but in particular, the judge do make the law through the doctrine of judicial precedence. See that? So, judge only make law through the judicial precedence, jurisdiction at the past. Judicial precedent. It seems that the judge play the role of the parliament to make law, and this is a breach of separation of power. That means that parliamentary make the law. Yes, sometimes judge also can make the law because they interpret the law based on beyond the decision that the judge made in the past. We call it judicial precedence. How about judiciary and executive? In Malaysia, there's no overlap in member, but in function it has. So the function making the judiciary intervene the legislative. Then the function also making the judiciary intervene the executive. Why? The judiciary in Malaysia gain not respect if compared with legislative and executive because the judge only person appointed and not by win the elections. Judiciary not representative of the people, so it has less authority than any executive body or legislative body. The executive seem itself more powerful than the judiciary because they control the parliaments and gains the people's support. Thus, is also interpreted as a mandate for its legislative programs and therefore resent judicial pronouncements that challenge legislative or executive act. Thus, it is also interpreted as a mandate for its legislative programs and therefore resent judicial pronouncement that challenge legislative or legislative act. The executive seems like overlap the separation of power because the executive arm play a vital role in the appointment of the judge in the federal court, court of appeal, and high court, and the appointment of the judicial commission. But the executive could recommend the judge to Yang di-Pertuan Agong such as the Chief Justice, and this is a clear overlap. clear overlap. Although there are some minimum qualifications from a nominee of the Superior Court, but the safeguard is never enough. The Attorney General, who is a part of the executive body, is viewed as performing a judicial function, and the Prime Minister is behind his or her appointment. However, the chairperson of Hungary of Administrative Tribunal are not full-time judge. Often they are administrator or politician with no legal qualifications. Their links with the executive may create the appearance of institutional bias. This means that the executive is always interfere the judicial appointment of the judge. Executive can always recommend a person who is a favor to the government to be a judge. Although the appointment is up to YDPA, but the YDPA is always under the advice of the Prime Minister in the Cabinet, which means that the Prime Minister can insist what he has decided. The judge who is a favor to government cannot uphold the right and liberties of the people because there are some circumstances where there are conflict between citizen and the government. The judge will try to case by favor to government. Besides that, the judge have favor to government will let the judicial review become not effective. The judge is most important person who has the power to declare the Act of Parliament is unconstitutional, otherwise, according to the obligations of the Constitution and the understanding of the law. See that? So you see that how the executive intervene the judiciary. Supposed to be judiciary be independent, but because the 1988 amendments become the judicial cannot be independent. So you see that overlapping the power. The first point, overlapping the power because they have to work together. The second point is overlapping the power because of functions. See that? Functions. Okay. Clear? Okay. So when you look on here, is it executive more power than judiciary? Yes. The executive nominate federal judge. The executive pardon those convicted because judicial must be favor to the government because the judicial was appointed by the executive. So judicial will be execute court decision according to the favor of governments. That means that the judicial power is very limited by the executive. How about legislative? Is it more power than judiciary? Yes. Because legislative can impeach the judge. Why the legislative can impeach the judge? Why the legislative can rewrite regulations? Why? You must know that. Because of the functions. Legislative is a member of House of Representatives. It's a member of Parliament. They appointed as a minister in the cabinet. And the Prime Minister is from the legislative body. And the Prime Minister appointed the Attorney General. Attorney General is the Peguam Negara. So when the Prime Minister appointed the Attorney General, so the Attorney General can rewrite regulations, can impeach the judge. So at last, the judicial power is limited by the legislative. But you must know that in one case, the judiciary can make the law according to the judicial precedents. That's only. Other than that, the judiciary cannot overrule the legislative because of parliamentary supremacy. Get me or not? Clear or not? Okay. So, how about the judiciary? Okay, the judiciary can only declare an action unlawful or unconstitutional. Can declare an action unlawful and unconstitutional. In fact, they share power but also check on others. Why? Okay. They just declare they cannot take actions because of 1988 amendments. 1988 amendments. That means that the judge only can declare, but we cannot take actions because the judge share the power. The judge share the power because the power is coming from executive. Executive appointed them. See that? Because of this, you must understand that. Okay, you must understand that legislative have a veto power. Legislative have the veto power. Why legislative have the veto power? Because some of the member of the legislative was appointed in the executive. See that? So, if the Prime Minister does not favor with one minister act of the policy, so the Prime Minister will use the veto power in the legislative, because the Prime Minister is also head of the governments in the legislative. When head of government in the legislative, that means that the Prime Minister have the veto power. Because the Prime Minister also appointed the Speaker of Parliament. The Speaker of Parliament when was appointed by the Prime Minister, so the Speaker must follow or favor to the Prime Minister. See that? How about the legislative and judicial? Court only can declare, but court cannot make the decisions. So the make decision is who? Legislative. Legislative can make the decisions. So this means that legislative impeach the judge. So how about the judge and executive? Executive appointed the judge. So the judge must favor the government. So that means that at last the judge only can say, cannot act. Okay? It's very pity. Okay. And then we're going to this reason for separation of power. Why we need separation of power? Because increase government efficiency. As power is distributed among the government department, this department gain deep knowledge of the matter that with and become more efficient. Because you must know that. You must know that. Separation of power give the gap to the people to make a complaint. People make a complaint. So the legislative, the member of parliament was been chosen by the people, must act according to the people voice. If the people voice out, so the member of parliament must act according to the people voice out. See that? So separation of power is most important. But in Malaysia, we have overlapping powers. Ensure the liberty of citizens. The concept of separation of power ensures that no one arm of the state is able to assert absolute power to it. The danger of absolute power is that it can be used to trample upon the liberties of citizens. So in the absence of such absolute power, the citizens are protected. Is it Malaysia? It's very real democracy. Is it Malaysia? Pure democracy. Real democracy? No. Malaysia is a semi-democracy. Semi-democracy. Okay? Because constitution is the source of the power. The constitution gives the power. So we act according to the constitutions. So regarding this, almost Prime Minister have the most power, because Prime Minister have the most power than the legislative, than the judge. Why? Because Prime Minister is the head of government in the House of Representatives. When he's the head of government in the House of Representatives, that means that his party have more seat. When more seat, when we coming to the decision to vote, so the more vote will be win and the opposition party is the opponent, the head of opponent, ketua pembangkang, the head of opponent in the House of Representatives, it always have a less seat. That means that head of government will always win because they have more vote, more seat, more vote. So you see that Prime Minister also appointed the judge, and the judge must favor the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister is the head of government in the executive. So we are not a pure democracy. Clear? And then separation of power. The third point is prevents abuse of power. Okay, prevents abuse of power. In Malaysia, yes, we use check and balance, check against abuse of power, arrogance of power. But you must understand that who want to take the actions when one person is abuse of power? Who? Is it Prime Minister? No. Is it regressive? No. Judicial? Yes. But judicial cannot make the decision. Judicial just only declare, cannot act. When the judicial is declared, they cannot act because they favor to the government. Let's say one minister abuse of power. Is it judicial want to take action? Cannot. The only one want to take action is Prime Minister. So if the Prime Minister is quietly, so what happened? The minister will be more and more abuse power. So now, how you want to voice out? Through the social media. When the netizens in the social media voice out loudly, the government will hear, because the government need the support from the people, because the government is chosen by the people. The power of the people now is in the social media. You think you get it? If you're not satisfied, if a certain of actions of any head of organizations, so which way? Voice out in social media, viral. That is the things. Yeah. Okay. And then the fourth point of the separation of power is limited government. As a power is distributed among different departments, this department enjoy only limited power. This prevents rise of dictatorship. Yes. And the point, yes. In the practical in Malaysia, no. You know what? Okay. I give two examples. The fourth Prime Minister, Mahathir, in 1980 to in 1980 to 2002, we call it Mahathirisms. Why we call it Mahathirisms? Because we understand Mahathirism is what? First, capitalism. The second, Islamism. The third one, nationalism. The fourth one is populism. And the last one is authoritarianism. That means that authoritarians. Why we call it authoritarians? Because you must understand there's a certain act, Internal Security Act, Emergency Act. Emergency Act is Akta Darurat, was used to those who had not agreed to the government. So nowadays, is it these two acts have? Yes, so smart. Yes, Akta Sultan. And there's so many acts. With certain act, okay, the government can use this act to prevent the people to voice out. See that? So that means that sometimes Malaysia is a semi-democracy because we have a certain act which can give the government more authoritarians. So you might understand. Okay. So this theory adopted by most countries has not escaped criticisms. Most criticisms are centered towards the traditional perspective of separation of power. That means that when you say criticisms, it means that disadvantage or demerit of the state separation of power. So why? Because administrative complications. Separation of power result in administrative complication. It becomes difficult to force cooperation, coordination, and harmony among the executive, judiciary, and executive of government. Coordinations, cooperations, and harmony. Why? Why we have a problem in cooperation, coordination, and harmony? You understand that? Okay, you understand that? Okay. Members of the executive is the members of House of Representatives. It's clear? Members of executive is the members of House of Representatives. And the ruling party or the government party who will win in these elections have the most say in the House of Representatives will form a government in the executive body. You see that? See that? So, those who are left is the opponent party. Opponent party just a member of House of Representatives. That means the opponent party is just a title of member of parliament only. So, is it? Does it have a cooperations, coordination, and harmony between executive and legislative, between the government and opponent party? Because the government is the executive body, also is the House of Representatives, is also is a member of the executive. How about the judge? I already said that the judge is appointed by the Prime Minister, so must be favor to government. Okay. So there's a no coordinations. Okay. The second one, confusion and deadlock. Okay. Confusion and deadlock. Okay. I explain you. When I say that administrative complication, when I say administrative complications. In Malaysia, we don't have administrative complications because in Malaysia, just now I have already said that members of executive is a member of legislative. So almost the government members of governments in executive body is a members of the parliament. So we have a certain that there's no we call it cooperation, coordination, harmony, because there's we call it a line of the power. Just only have the problem is the cooperation, coordination, harmony is regarding the opponents and the governments, the party of government and the party of opponent in parliaments. But when he said that separation of power have an administrative communication, let's say I give you one example. Let's say the members of the executive body was not appointed from the legislative body. That means that member of executive is appointed others than members of legislative. Because we want to use the separation of power, is it very easy to run the government? Is it easy to run government? Let's say the judge was not appointed by the Prime Minister. Is it the judge will follow the government? And this we call administrative corporations. And then confusion and deadlock. Confusion and deadlock, you must understand that. Okay? Suspicions, jealousy, and frictions among the executive, legislative, and judiciary. Yes, of course. Because they have powers, so they will compete their powers to show who is the most powers. So this will paralyze the administrations. As a result, the administrations often fail to take quick decisions even at the time of crisis. So that means that if we have separate this power really, benar-benar kita pisahkan kuasa ini, maka kita akan masalah. Sebab tu kita tak pernah pisah kuasa, kita overlap the power. Okay, overlap the power. So overlap the power. And the third one, inequality of powers. Okay. The separation of power in the principle, yes, he said that equality of power, but in the practice, no, you cannot say equal power, because when you equal power, so every person will take against each other, will compete each other, and then who is to be victims? Suffer the people. Because of this, we in Malaysia are not practice pure separation of power. We just practice in the names of the separation of power as a check and balance only. Okay, check and balance, and then not the sole factor of liberty. Why not the sole factor of liberty? Because if you say SOP may contribute to liberty, if you say separation of power may contribute to liberty, but it's not the only factor of liberty. Liberty also depends a lot on the psyche of the people, their outlook, their political awareness, custom, tradition, and fundamental rights, rule of law, independent judiciary, economic equality. That means that, is it the people want to follow rule of law? If you really want to practice the separation of power, rule of law. Rule of law is perintah mengikut undang-undang. If you want to make a rule of law, perintah mengikut undang-undang. So, it's not rule by law, perintah dengan undang-undang. So, if you want to practice this separation of power, you really want to practice, so everything will be rule by law, not rule of law. Because when you say that rule by law, they are not uphold the constitutions. So the constitution is not recognized. In Malaysia, constitutional is the recognized. Constitutional is supremacy. So what happened is, we are rule of law. When you say rule of law, so that means that separation of power is less used. So because of this, the judicial have to favor the government to handle a certain crisis, to make the peace and harmony among the peoples. So you understand, yes, Malaysia was not pure democracy. Malaysia is a semi-democracy. Because to bring the stability, to bring the harmonious among people, the only one is not separation of power, but overlapping the power. Have to make a certain authoritarians to make sure our country in stability. Without it, we are in chaos. Okay, so when you say this, you must understand that. Okay, the balance distribute. The balance, is it distribute or disturb? Asking yourself, is it the balance what distribute or the balance what disturb? You want to balance the distribute among the governments and the people. So give the governments the power. Give the government the more power, because the government the only body can handle the political stability and harmonious. But if you really want to practice the separation of power, sometimes the balance will be disturbed. Balance will be disturbed. Why the balance will be disturbed? Because problem solver and crisis manager is also required to provide welfare to people. You want to solve the problem, you want to solve the crisis, you want to handle the crisis, you need power. But if the executive is not, let's say that if the executive doesn't have the power, the executive want to implement, must need the judicial intervenes. When the judicial say, I don't want to intervene, so what happened? The executive cannot do anything. Okay, so what happened? This is a disturb among three bodies, because they want to compete each other, who is the more power. So at last, because of planning, security and welfare demands, so we need overlapping the power. So the overlapping the power is means that the functions power. Clear? Overlapping power is known as the functions of power. So in Malaysia, we practice the function of power. Clear or not? Clear or not? This is chapter 6. So we are ended chapter 6. Now in the week 9. We are on the week 9. So we have more than left. How many weeks? 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, maybe 15. Maybe we left only 6 weeks or 7 weeks. So you have to be ready. Just left only 1 month and a half only. Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum. Happy fasting.